Hello guys, what's going on? James here with another video. Today is Saturday, and so it is Sit Down Saturday, which I've decided now includes beer. This is a sort of a revival, really, I guess, of an old tradition. I used to do a few videos where I had beer. Mainly it's just because I had beer in the house then, and the case is true now. I have beer, so why not? Today I'm drinking Heineken. It's imported from Holland, I think, Amsterdam. That right? I don't fucking care. Anyway, it's some lager swill, which is appropriate because today we're doing real thoughts, we're doing real talk about two topics that have been lighting up the booktube scene. One sort of on and off throughout booktube's long history, and one that's sort of been, I guess, tacked on to that. So the first one is YA versus adult books. And what are my real feelings about that? Because I think if anyone's followed this channel for a while, you will know that my general my general term for YA fiction is baby books for babies, which is obviously quite derogatory and inflammatory, and is not what I really think at all. It's just for comic effect. And the discussion is, you know, should we as readers move away from YA towards adult literature or adult books? And that's, I guess, the other thing that we need to get into later is, where does literature come into that? And I'll discuss that later on in this video. So, YA versus adult. Is YA good? Is YA bad? Does it have a negative impact? The answer is no, not really. You know, so let's talk about, I guess the way to frame this would be sort of how I was reintroduced to the world of reading. I was a bit of a reader when I was a kid, like before secondary, like late secondary school, sixth form, university time. And then I just sort of stopped reading altogether. From when I was about like 17, I guess, onwards. I didn't really read any fiction books during that time, just because, I don't know, I guess I just sort of fell out of doing it, and the books I was trying to read were very difficult books to read. If you remember, or if you haven't seen it, maybe go and watch my review of Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Like, that was the one book that I tried to read sort of consistently from when I was about 14 onwards, and that sort of killed me in terms of reading, because I guess, like, I just found reading too hard, and I was like, well, you know, why bother with this? I can just watch film, play video games, whatever. And that's sort of what I ended up doing until after university, when I got a job in the city of London town. And basically I had a long train commute, and there's not really a lot to do on long commutes other than read. So I started trying to read books again properly, and the books that I picked up were YA fiction, and at the time I was like 23, 24, and they were YA fiction books that I was picking up. Like, I think the first book that I read after my long dry spell was The Hunger Games. And it's very easy to read. I engaged with it a lot. I think it's just because, you know, I missed that period in the young adult days. I never experienced those kind of books, so I found them interesting, I found them engaging, and obviously from a sort of like personal development point of view, I guess, I was going through a period of time there where I was like, you know, oh, I've got to like become a fucking grown-up now, what do I do? And, you know, YA books deal with those themes, and I think they are helpful, you know, reading for people going through that period of time. So, you know, I don't have a negative opinion of YA books, really. Like, I understand, you know, why people love them, why people engage with them, and they're like, I think they're a really important step on your reading journey, sort of transitioning from children's fiction to adult books. Like, you know, adult books do tend to be difficult to read. They can be intimidating for people, and I think there's nothing to be ashamed of with like building up to those. I think where a lot of frustration comes in for people that read adult books on BookTube, and it's a thing that I've noticed as well. It doesn't really annoy me, you know, because like to each his own or whatever. But I think what people are picking up on is that people are not going outside of that. They're not stepping outside of that zone. So for me, for example, like I read probably 15 to 20 like YA books, really liked them, and then I picked up Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Read that and sort of realised, you know, this is an adult book, and I didn't have trouble with it. In fact, I loved it. And when I read that and then went back to reading a YA book, it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. Like, I had gone out of, I'd advanced beyond those themes, like in my life. I'd gone beyond that sort of level of comprehension in reading, and I was just ready to explore more challenges. And you know, that's fine for me, perfectly fine, and I guess it's fine for other people. But some people, they don't feel comfortable doing that, and I don't know, I guess there's a weird there's a weird hesitancy to get into reading adult books. A lot of people have said to me, you know, like they don't think they're smart enough to read an adult book, which is crazy to me. Like, there's, you know, you don't have to be a fucking Mensa level genius to read, you know, a fictional story. If you are mature enough in age and you have some experience of the world, I think the themes of adult books are going to resonate with you more. They probably won't find it as difficult to read, especially if you've been reading, you know, YA books for a long time. I think, you know, you prepared yourself for it. There's no fucking mystery to it. And that's where the second part of this discussion really comes in. And that is the discussion of literature. Fucking literature. On BookTube, especially, a lot of the times when I see these videos of people saying like, "Oh, I've outgrown YA," that's been a common video with sort of mid to big, like lower big level booktubers, where they're saying like, "Oh, you know, I think I've outgrown YA," you know, like, what if I never read YA again? But what they leap to is not like adult books. They talk about classics. They're like, oh, you know, I want to read less YA. You know, I want to read more classics, more literature. Literature. You know, the sort of books where you fucking jerk yourself off about how fucking smart you are because you've read it. You know, Jonathan Safran Foer's terrible book, Everything is Illuminated. That was a book that I picked up at random off a bookshelf, and that is a book that is like through and through fucking nipple stroking literature. Literature. Fucking love literature. And you know, I guess there's a level of elitism when it comes to literature that puts people off. You know, it really puts me off. And I know Simon from Savage Reads did a video recently where he was talking about how he sees literature versus consumer level books. And like, even then, like, it's such a fucking, like, I don't, nothing against Simon. Like, his video was really good, and like, I don't think he is like a fucking literature snob at all. In fact, I know he's not, because he was like saying that he doesn't agree with this sort of consumer, like, oh, you know, popular fiction. But you know, like, I think there's this feeling of people fucking turning their noses up at books that were written to be consumed by the mass public, as though the fucking unwashed masses shouldn't be allowed to have access to your fucking words. Like, oh my god, like, literature, you're talking about classics and modern literary fiction, as though it's like the fucking pinnacle of the written word. And like, I get it, like, you know, literature, it experiments a lot, and it tries to tackle themes more in depth, and it's got more complexity. Oh, more complexity. I'll wrap myself up in the fucking complexity of this impenetrable, boring fucking story. No, like, not all literature is fucking bad. Like, there is no collection of books that I can point at and go, all of that is going to be collectively just terrible. Like, you know, you can't say a modern classic, or, you know, like, I don't know, like, what are some examples of fucking literature? Like, I've just looked at my shelf. I've got His Bloody Project by Graham something McCrae. Is it Graham McCrae Burnett? Like, that's like a literary book. What else do we have? Like, To Kill a Mockingbird is like a classic. Steinbeck's a classic. Handmaid's Tale. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. These are all literature. I guess maybe with the exception of the A Handmaid's Tale, because it's genre fiction, and we can't fucking have that, can we, boys? Genre fiction, fucking plebs. But yeah, you know, like, I'm putting on that voice and that character and that presentation. But again, real talk, like, I don't think everyone who reads literature is like that, obviously. But there is a perception there, I think, of people being scared to dip their toes in to that world, because they feel like that's the reaction they're going to get. You know, if you talk to someone who's into literature, and, you know, they ask you, oh, what's your favourite book? And you say, my favourite book is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, saying so because I've got it there just in front of me. And then they, like, fucking roll their eyes like, well, that's not literature. You know, like, you just get put off. Like, just come on, man. Books are books, you know. And as much as you want to, like, put down fucking people that you think are beneath you on the reading totem pole, like, I'm guilty of doing it as well with my fucking baby books for babies. You know, it's putting down people that read YA, and saying, you know, oh, well, you're obviously not fucking mature enough to read the fucking brilliant books that I read about bloke fighting evil wizard. You're such a baby. Like, come on. Like, I think we need to just end the fucking divisions and let people read what they want to read. And if you don't like YA books, that's fine. I think we should be encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone, absolutely, you know. But what we shouldn't be doing is fucking bitching and moaning and whining at each other because they're not doing it. Because that's what puts people off. You know, you see someone who's really fucking enjoying a book. For example, I'm going to use the example Harry Potter, right? You see people that are using Harry Potter. And Harry Potter's a weird one, actually. Harry Potter is a weird one, because it seems to be the only one that even, like, the adult-only people, like, they fucking idolise it still. And Harry Potter, I think, is responsible for a lot of people not moving on, not moving out of their comfort zone. Because, you know, they reread the whole series, like, every year. And they feel like if they stop reading YA, they can't love it anymore. Which is dumb. But and again, it's like, it's a weird thing where it's like, well, no, it can be grown up. Like, just, you know, just admit to yourself you like children's books. It's okay. Like, there's no shame in it. You know, I really like a series of unfortunate events. Even now, I still like Artemis Fowl. Even now, and they're children's books, okay? Like, you don't have to fucking lie to yourself that it can be for grown-ups. There's no harm in it. It's not a problem, unless you're unless you're talking to an absolute fucking twat who, like, you don't read adult books, fuck off then. Like, if anyone says that to you, like, without irony, like, just hit them right in the face. They're obviously a fucking moron. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, YA versus adult books, it's not a fight, man. Like, who cares? Some people are going to grow up in terms of their reading tastes faster than others. Some people will fight to hold on to their past and they won't dip their toes in the water. But as people that read adult books, I mean, I guess all you can really do if you want to see people branching out more in their terms of their reading tastes is just say, hey man, like, I heard you love all these books. That's really cool. I think you'd like this, you know, and don't make it sound fucking scary, like, oh, well, the level of complexity in Stephen King's Misery is much more complicated than anything in a John Green book. Oh, it's so fucking grown up and complicated. Like, you know, that's just gonna intimidate people and put them off, and they're not gonna read it, man. Like, that's the bottom line. Just say, you know, this book's cool, it's got cool characters, it's got all the sort of stuff you love. And you don't have to be like, oh, it's for grown-ups, it's for grown-ups. Like, I do that sort of thing, but I'm joking. Like, I'm kidding. Like, it's irony, it's not, it's like a persona, man. Like, I don't honestly believe that I'm any better because I don't reach for YA books, and I don't feel any shame when I do, you know. Like, last year, one of the best books I read was The Hate You Give, which is a YA book. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, guys. And I think, you know, this conversation comes up over and over again, like, oh, don't hate me, guys, because I'm not going to read YA books anymore, and I'm never going to read them again. You don't have to fucking pigeonhole yourself. You know, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself like that. Read books because they're books and they've got good stories, not because of the age range they were marketed towards and what shelf they were stacked in the bookshop. You know, it's like people that say to me, oh, you know, oh, how do I get into sci-fi? How do I get into sci-fi? Well, right, go to the bookshop, go to the sci-fi section, find a book that you think sounds cool, and read that. You know, there's not like a fucking ladder that you have to climb in order to get sci-fi. You just start reading it. You know, start reading wherever you like. There's no established canon. You know, and then the same as, you know, I guess it's like when you're in school, you sort of have your reading levels structured. But when you're an adult, like, no one's monitoring you. You know, and saying, oh, well, you got to read this at this age, and you can't read this after this age. That doesn't happen when you're a fucking adult, because you're an adult. You should be able to judge for yourself. So I guess that's that. And in terms of literature versus more consumerist fiction, again, like, literature is all well and good, but there is an elitist culture that can sprout up around it, as there is with everything. Because people like to feel superior to others. They just do. And if you want to read literature, that's great. If you don't care, you're not thick. It's not a problem. You know, you just don't like it. I've read loads of books where I'm like, you know, I get it. I see what you're doing. I understand it's clever, but I don't enjoy it. and I'm not having fun. And that's really, you know, if I'm using my free time to read books for fun. I'm not looking to fucking sniff my own farts and talk about how deep your literary themes are. And I'm sorry if the people out there think that I'm stupid and dumbed down because of that, but I don't give a shit. And that's your baggage, man. It's not mine. So that's it. This is really just a sit-down Saturday to encourage you all to read what you like. Don't let people get in your face about what you're reading. You know, you should just be happy with the time that you're spending on things that you enjoy for yourself. It's not for them. You know, you're not reading for other people. I'm not reading for other people. I guess sort of I am when I do a review. But I'm not reading to impress anyone. So it doesn't matter to me what you think about my reading tastes. I guess like I'm happy to discuss them with you and have a chat. It's always interesting to discuss different people's different tastes, but I'm not going to fight you about it because I'm a fucking adult. So go read adult books instead of baby books for babies, okay? I'll see you later. Bye.